Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a multi-character examiner by me. So let's get into it. Neuvillette. Edic's Neuvillette was someone that could be very protective and something that most Quintanians had not really predicted at all. Not even you. Getting in a relationship with him was mostly full of surprises, and it was always wonderful to see that. But you had never really known how protective he could be. It was not necessarily bad. It wasn't bad at all, but it's simply surprising, since you never really saw it coming from Neuvillette of all people. He seemed to be fairly laid back, and although he cared deeply about those things that were dear to him, you didn't think he would care that deeply about you. But maybe you should have known. Maybe you should have had an idea of how much he cared all along. He loved you more than he loved anyone. And of course, he was going to be extremely protective. That was why it was important to him that you be safe, sound, and protected against all harm. And so, when one day he was called over by the Mosines because something bad happened to you, he was panicking. You laid in the bed, passed out, when Citrine had told him that you were poisoned. He had no idea who would do this. Why would anyone do this to you? There were so many questions in his head, and yet none of them mattered right now. The truth and justice could be laid aside, because right now nothing mattered more than you. And he was afraid that you were in danger because of what he's been told. Monsieur Neuvillette, Miss Ryan is not really well. It's going to take her a while to get better. We don't even know when she will wake up. But you could try to extend some of your power to her. That may help her in resisting this poison. A nurse said, and he nodded. He would give you anything. Anything you wanted and anything you asked for. If anything in the world could guarantee that you're back to him, safe and well, he would do it. And that is why he stayed with you day and night, supplying you with small amounts of his power when he could. He did not want it to overwhelm you, to be too much, that it does damage to you. And so he stayed there watching over you, making sure that you'd be okay, and not getting a wink of sleep. He couldn't afford to, not when you needed him, and not when you wanted to be there the moment you opened your eyes. So as soon as you did, it was fair to say that he was delighted, and the rain outside slowly started to go away. Ryan, my darling, my sweetheart, I was so worried and so scared. Please tell me you're alright. I am. I'm a little tired, though. You say, holding his hand and squeezing it, and he just squeezes a little bit more in return. He's beyond delighted that you're okay, relief flooding him in his entire mind and body. He had no idea how he'd do if you weren't okay. But right now he didn't have to worry about that, because you were fine. And he didn't have to worry what would happen if you weren't. For now, he just holds you close and hugs you. But once he's sure that you're perfectly okay, he's going to make sure that he finds the person who did this. And he will make sure that justice is served. Arlecchino. Arlecchino was never to be forgiving, especially if someone was doing something unsavory as this. You were hers, and that was known amongst everyone who knew her. And she was extremely protective and possessive of those she considered close and dear. So whoever it was that poisoned you must have known about your relationship and must have done this in revenge. So she was not happy, no. She was enraged by the act, and she knew that she would get her revenge. So when she found out, she was worried, yes, but she knew you'd be fine. In fact, she had appointed her most trusted doctors to be attending to you. Meanwhile, she would have to investigate this matter on her own to make sure justice is served before you wake up. So that person who did this to you will be a warning to those who try on later. Nobody should try to ever hurt you, and that will be setting an example, one that shall answer a lot of the questions that people had, and shall prove to them that you are indeed very dear to her, irreplaceable even. And that's why, 10 hours in, the person who had done this was within her clutches, and she was taking her revenge, nice and slow. She would keep it going until you woke up. And if you did not, well, that revenge would have to go on forever then, right? Funny. Thankfully enough, though, you woke up just about 2 days later, and so that person had to be put out of their misery. You were very kind in waking up that early, and Arlecchino went over to you, inside your room. She looked at you, with blood tainting her clothes, and you could only wonder what she had done. Arlie, my love, is everything fine? Please don't ask me that. I should be the one worrying about you. Are you fine, darling? I'm feeling well, but I feel really tired. Like I'm very sick. That's to be expected. Don't worry. I'll have you taken care of. In fact, I'll be staying here to see to it, just to make sure that you'll be fine. But assure me, you're not really hurt? Or in pain? Not at all, Arlecchino. But I guess you could have just waited for me to wake up and tell you that, instead of acting on your own. Oh, you're worried about that, she said. She knew you did not like the sight of blood, and she felt apologetic only for that, nothing else. My apologies, darling. Next time, I'll make sure to wipe it off before I head into your room. You sighed softly. You knew there was no changing her, just as she knew there was no plucking that kindness out of your heart. And so, she just kissed your cheek and went outside. She would have to clean this up, and there was a body that she had to hide.